The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome into the Wicked Weed Studio. I'm Tank Spencer, Jeremy Greene alongside. As always, it is the Sportsocracy. Follow, like, and share on all the social medias and hit that subscribe button as well. Share it out with friends so they can join us as well here in the Sportsocracy community. Welcome everybody into the program, and check out our friends at Wicked Weed Brewing at wickedweedbrewing.com. Wicked Weed Brewing, drink different.
Hey, and when you go into Wicked Weed, you know what you should do? You should look at whoever is serving you and say, there's this fat guy that I watch on the interwebs who said, bucks and six. Ta-da!
Yep.
Make them laugh, make them laugh.
What is this? Don't I have to eat something nasty for that? Michael Whiteside says.
And by the way, I don't know.
I don't think we put a wager on that.
I'll go back and check the tape, because if we did, I'll 100% make you do it. I was just going to tell you to suck it from the back, but you know, if you had to do something weird, then that'd be funnier for me.
Bucks in 6. Bucks finish it off. The first 4-game losing streak of the Phoenix Suns since 2019.
When in doubt, trust the fat guy with the big beard.
Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo went and nanners last night. 105 to 98 was the final score. He scored 33 points in the second half, finished off with 50 on the night. It was a career-defining moment.
Yeah, he's the best player in the NBA.
Period.
He's the best player in the NBA. Stop talking about it. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous. He had one flaw in his game.
The free throws.
Yeah, and he went out last night and went 17-19.
I love too, after the game, he was given his post-game thoughts, and he said, I did everything you wanted. You razzed me about missing my free throws. I hit my free throws tonight, and we got a damn championship.
I did it, Coach. I did it, Coach. I made him. Yeah, he was otherworldly.
Yeah, 50 points. He had 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, played 42 minutes last night. 16 to 25 from the field, 17 to 19 from the free throw stripe. He did pretty well for himself and gave the city of Milwaukee something that they hadn't had in a while, which is a world championship.
So, confetti, bitches. It was tremendous. I did not hit the 125x 8-way parlay, though.
Well, I mean, you can't win them all. I hit 6
of the 8.
You can't win them all, but when you undersell Giannis in the defining moments,
that's one of the ones I missed.
It's going to be one of the legs you miss in that old parlay. But, I mean, 6 out of the 8, that ain't bad. I mean, it ain't going to cash. But
nope, it made.
You don't get credit for close in parlays.
Nope, you don't get credit for close in gambling. But that game went exactly how I told you it was going to. It would be low scoring. It was 47-43 at halftime.
Yeah. I
looked at my wife and went, do you realize they'd have to score 80 in the second half for me to be wrong? 80 apiece in the second half for me to be wrong about the over-under?
Yep.
Yep, I feel pretty good about it. Missed the score by hair. By the way, do you remember what my final score was?
98 to 93.
98-92.
Yeah.
I had them covering by a hair. Final score, 102-96. I'm just saying, that's pretty damn close. That's just pretty damn close. It was super predictable. Game 6, do or die. Everybody's going to get tight. Shoot it. Devin Booker couldn't have hit a thirsty bitch out of a frat house. It was pitiful. My God, he was bad last night. Can we stop with the he's Kobe thing? Please. He has definitively proven to you that he's not. So, calm down.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of similarities between him and Kobe. But
yeah, they both play basketball. They're close to the same height. They shoot a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm done. And I'm out. That's all I got.
He is not one of the greatest players of all time.
Kelvin Joyner asked in the comments, when does the conversation of Giannis being the best international player ever start? It's pretty damn close right now.
Now, we can start it now.
He said, I still have dirt, but it's close. I don't know that I do.
I don't know that I do.
I don't know that I. Now
Dirk is a way better shooter, obviously.
Oh yeah, but Giannis is to me a way better all-around player. He's a way better defender.
Yeah.
Here would be the argument: Dirk won a title with less. That's the only argument I would still give you on Dirk. But yeah, it's Giannis. By the way, I can't believe we've gone 6 minutes or however long we've gone, and I haven't mentioned this yet.
Okay.
If you haven't seen what Monty Williams did after this game, do yourself a favor. Because he was the other winner last night. He may not get a ring, but he will have the respect of true sports fans for the rest of his life. I've never seen a coach do that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Monty Williams, coach of the Phoenix Suns, went into the locker room while they're still spraying champagne and shit and went in to congratulate them. Face to face, man to man. I mean, it gives me, I get the fucking goose tinglings every time I say it. I told it to him earlier today. And that's as good as it gets. That's as good as it gets. Good on you, Monty Williams.
Yeah, and what he said was more important than the actual gesture of you guys were the better team. You made me a better coach throughout this entire series. You know, congratulations. You took it from us, basically. And you got to love sportsmanship like that.
100%, because you just don't see it.
No.
You just don't ever see it.
Right. Could you imagine Bill Belichick doing that in the Super Bowl locker room?
Yeah, Sean. It's about how that would go.
Right.
I was going to say something nice, but I don't have the ability.
But again, the whole series turned on the two of the now Milwaukee's big three. You got to put them in that category now. They have a title.
I agree.
They have a title to their name, and you can't take that away from them. But it was Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, who finally turned it on, and they found a rhythm after this series. And now all of that talk about can Mike Budenholzer coach on the big level, that's out the window. Let's not talk that anymore.
You ready to eat that crow and Mike Budenholzer? Oh, he can't make an adjustment. Mike Budenholzer sucks. They're good at fight. Yeah, you look right there. There's a camera right there.
It's not my criticism. That's the criticism everybody else was bringing up.
There's a camera right there. You just look into it. It's like,
sorry, Mike, if I undersold you.
I was wrong.
You got it. I was wrong. You got your championship, and now nobody can talk shit about you anymore.
Bingo.
That was forever I guess Stephen A. Smith was probably the bandwagon leader on the Mike Budenholzer can't coach in big spots. Yeah. Well, he proved you wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah. He has a ring. Do you? Win.
Right. So Milwaukee celebrating for the first time in 50 years in the basketball world, getting their world championship. And we go into next year. The odds are already up for next year. I saw the Brooklyn Nets. They're the favorite.
Keep setting that money on fire. Just keep setting it on fire. Okay. Take it and put it in a big pile and just go full Joker.
I find it to be a very rare occurrence where the champion doesn't come in at least one of the top two teams to repeat next year.
Yeah, they should be.
And Milwaukee.
I'm going to go full Michael Caine. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Milwaukee comes in third in the futures behind the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers.
Which is stupid.
That they keep putting the Lakers up there?
No.
But don't you expect that the Lakers are going to make some kind of a move in this offseason?
For what?
I don't know.
Oh, look, we traded Kyle Kuzma for a bag of basketballs. That will get more shots up. Give a shit. Nobody's giving you anything of any repute for Kyle Kuzma and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Dennis Schroeder in a sign and trade. You see how bad that sounds when I say it out loud? There you go. Yeah, you traded all your players for that big broke toy that you keep trotting out there with the goofy haircut and the weird eyebrow.
I was very shocked that the defending champions were not among the top two contenders in the odds for next year. But
I'll have them.
Somebody's going to make a lot of money.
I'll have them. I'll throw the doubloon at it.
It came out at what, plus 900?
Jonathan Welch said Jeremy's never wrong. That's bullshit. I'm wrong a lot.
He is wrong a lot.
I'm wrong.
Not as much as I am.
There you go.
I mean, The two things can be true at the same time. You are wrong sometimes. I am wrong more of the time.
Yes.
It's like that from The Big Bang Theory, when he was like,
I love how
there is such a thing as more wrong.
I love when Welch had to put in the comments that was sarcasm. No shit.
No shit. Anyhow, the NBA season has come to an end. Everything in basketball now turns to what? The Olympics? I think the Olympics is a bigger draw at this point than the draft is. The draft has been, like, not covered at all.
The NBA draft's always kind of this way. It's kind of a niche thing. I mean, we'll do a video the day of the NBA draft because I'm a draft nerd.
Right.
Speaking of drafts, we have a draft coming up later this afternoon.
That's right, the expansion draft in the NFL.
And we have a team name.
Really?
We officially have a team name.
Okay. What one?
Ninja Chop!
Oh, the West Virginia Ninjas. That's the way it always had to be.
We are officially the West Virginia Ninjas. And a Ninja Star. The expansion draft will be this afternoon.
Yep. The expansion draft where you took one player from every team, is that how that worked?
So the way basically that this worked, I used, and I'll talk about this in the video, I actually used an article from the Draft Network. I've talked with the guy back and forth that did the legwork. The way that the NFL last did an expansion draft would not currently work.
Okay.
Because an expansion draft happens right after the season. So you have to use players that are under contract, blah, 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 blah. Well, now every team has 90 players. So I obviously can't just do 5 off the bottom of the roster. So we culled it down into 2020 players that are under contract for 2022. So they will not be free agents after this year. Mm-hmm. I did not draft any rookies in the expansion draft. I did not draft anybody that you signed this year. I used his pool, and his last name's Donick, but Carter Donick from the Draft Network did this. Been a super cool guy about this. Let me use all of his research. He's a wonderful guy. Mm-hmm. But I took basically one player from virtually every team.
There's a discussion going on in the comments right now of whether or not you have a soul. Because your wife chimed in and said that it hurt your soul to admit that you're wrong sometimes.
Well, that's just not nice.
I
don't feel like I'm that big of an asshole.
You are. Every time you have to admit you're wrong, you're like, you're either really super pouty about it, or you're like, well, I knew it could go that way. I mean, I knew that was a possibility. I changed my mind 75% of the way through the game that I was wrong.
No, usually I change my mind about 10% of the way in. And I'll throw it on Twitter. I was wrong. Sorry about your money. Set that shit on fire because I was super wrong.
Kevin Vick's very upset that we didn't choose the Kentucky Waterfalls, or the Kentucky Waterfalls did not win the fan contest. However, I mean, it's, sometimes it hurts to be in the minority.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
I didn't get the Biloxi beaver paddles. That was mine.
Look, here's the thing. Over it, here's what happened. The constituency for many of these team names was split. There were a lot of people that were all in on Biloxi beaver paddles or Carolina cooter flaps or whatever the hell it was. I don't even.
Why wasn't that one of the choices?
I don't even remember what the hell they all were.
Oh, the cooter flaps. That's another
I really don't. I deleted them off and I can't remember. I know one of them was a Carolina something.
We had the Topeka Tip Touchers.
But we couldn't use that. And that one was good, but I couldn't use it because the damn logo was. The Steelers have one of the only copyrighted logos in the NFL.
Yeah.
And trust me, it was funny. It was a bunch of wieners in different colors, and they were all in the formation of the Steelers logo. Patrick Holt did that one, and it
was phenomenal.
Well, here's the thing. I couldn't do another logo for it. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. It's a bullshit excuse. What other logo could I do? I could never unsee Rainbow Peters touching each other in the Steelers logo. I now can't see the Steelers logo any other way.
No, you could have done it like an old school... like a football club where you had the circle, and then you could have had it kind of like a peace sign. It would have been close to the Steelers, but you wouldn't have got there wouldn't have been an infraction there.
Yeah, I'm working on the logo with another graphic designer right now. That's not the logo. I thought that was
It fucking should be.
Really, it's pretty close to that.
Okay.
So the concept of the logo now, you tell me in the comments if you like this or not, is a bald eagle in a ninja outfit wearing a coonskin cap, like the West Virginia Mountaineer.
Yeah, I don't like that as much.
As that?
Yeah.
You want him to have the American flag?
But is it going to be like a full body, all cartoony kind of looking like the Carolina Ram or something like that, where it's going to be full head to toe in his
no, probably
and
not.
all that kind of shit?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Because, and yes, I do see the irony that my expansion team has a bird for a logo. Yeah, I see the irony in that. Before anybody says that, because I know it's coming. Armchair Commentary asked, did the Manscaped draft happen yet? No. It is coming. I'm not pushing this off. We've had a lot of things to happen. And I finally got a response from the entity that we're wanting to pair up for this. So I should have more information on that by the end of the week.
Cool.
There are two of us that are going to run that. And one of the beauties of football season is this is when Zach Hurst comes back in, who just had, a child. So he doesn't have all of the time to help. So we kind of, we try to work around that schedule.
I have to agree with Amy, though. The mullet makes the logo.
100%.
And so if you're going to have...
Well, I will say the Eagle has a mullet in the logo.
And the coonskin cap?
Yes. The mullet's underneath the coonskin cap, and it lays over the Eagle's shoulder.
Let's see. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Now, I could probably factor in that bandana if I needed to.
I think you need to.
Because, I think it is pretty sweet.
Right.
I don't know. You give me ideas, I'll talk with the designer about it, and we'll figure it out.
We need to incorporate all of these things.
Logos are one thing I don't do very well. I can draw, but it takes me for fucking ever. Mm-hmm. When instead I could just go to one of these freelancer websites and say, hey, I'll give you $4 to draw me a logo that'd take me 9 days. There you go. There's 4 US dollars.
Yeah.
You have that.
All right, well, I'm excited to see what it's going to look like when it's all fine and finished. The West Virginia Ninjas will be the name of the 33rd franchise in the NFL that will be featured on NFLDraft.net.
Should we go ahead and name who the coach is? Since we're live in this market and we're doing the expansion.
Sure, why not? Sneak peek into the team. Who did you choose as your head coach?
So basically, one of the first things you have to do when you get a 33rd franchise, as I have with the West Virginia Ninjas, I had to figure out who my coach was going to be.
Yep.
Sent out some flyers, just put some feelers out there. Got to 3 finalists. I called Eric Bieniemy. He didn't want my job because he knows he could have any other job, and we're probably going to suck for a minute.
Yeah, I've seen the sneak peek at the roster. It's not going to be very competitive for the first year.
That's before free agency.
For the first year.
I still got $90 million in salary cap, so you just hold your tits over there, bud.
Okay, all right.
Coaches, Jason Trump said the coach is Adam Gase. No, it's not. So I got down to 3 finalists. Matt Campbell, the Iowa State head coach, who ultimately withdrew. Then I was down to 2, which was Byron Leftwich, who was the runner-up, to the ultimate final new head coach of the West Virginia Ninjas, Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator Joe Brady.
Wow. Okay. So you're going with an innovative offense to start out this organization. It only makes sense. I would only expect that from you, Jimmy.
Young coach that grows with the team, and we're going to score a whole lot of effing points.
The guy who always loves every Swiss Army knife that you can find in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going with that kind of head coach. I should have known. My first guess was Eric Bieniemy. And then my second guess was Doug Peterson, because I thought, why would you not want... Doug would probably be willing to take a job.
And I could have sung that damn song. Doug, Dougie, Doug, Dougie, Doug, Doug.
He's got a Super Bowl ring, and he would be up for a job like this, I would imagine. He wants to break back into the NFL somehow. But
we didn't call him.
All in all, no, it's Joe Brady who's going to waste his first head coaching spot on a team that he'll probably be fired from in a couple of years.
Kevin Vick said, first you killed my dreams of the waterfalls, now you take my offensive coordinator. What the fuck? It's not a real exercise. It's not fictitious.
It's not going to be your offensive coordinator for much longer anyway.
No.
So
here's the thing. I had to get him before somebody else did, because guess what? Somebody's going to. I got to him first. But we're bringing in Jake Peets, the quarterback's coach he was the quarterback's coach in Carolina. Now he's the offensive coordinator at LSU. He will be our offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Defensive coordinator has not been named yet. I'm between a few, and you'll see why soon enough.
All right, so this afternoon we will have the full video, 3 o'clock, right here in the Sportsocracy of the expansion draft. And this is only the expansion draft portion. It's not rookies. It's not free agency. It's just the guys that were vultured off of other teams. Guys that
I'll explain it all. There'll be. I'll have a graphic. I'll have a link to Carter's story, which is fantastic, by the way. His was a little different. He did it the NHL way, of every team had to put 10 players out there, and he had to take 2 players from each team.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I had to fill a roster, and basically the way this whole thing worked is I took 23 players?
Something like that.
I have 23 players
23.
off. By the way, I wish you had shown that. The cute little the cute little Woody.
Hey, my son drew that, and I think it's pretty damn good. I know you can't really see it much on the screen, but
here's the thing.
Damn good.
I've never seen that notebook leave this room, so I thought you drew it. So that makes me feel a lot better.
No, this is one of those that I went, I need a notebook. I'll take this one.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the old Toy Story.
You got a friend in me.
Yeah, exactly. Can't convince the kid to play football, but he loves to draw. So that's our next avenue. Yeah, that's the other wrinkle in the the Twin Tanks football saga. Yeah, Joshua quit yesterday.
Just quit?
Just quit. Not gonna do it. And I went, okay, I'm not fighting with you every day to do this. But I still got one. Still got one on the team. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Meatloaf said it first.
I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that.
No, 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
I've always said that the original
the
original words to that Meatloaf song were, "I'll do anything for love, but I won't vote Democrat." Still rhymes.
Hot.
Wow, winning.
Yeah, just had to go there.
I did.
All right, we got training camps opening up today. Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys. Everything gets underway fully in the NFL, of course, next week. And we're still talking about fantasy football. We got the faves and the fades for each and every team that we are rolling through here. Today, we are doing the Souths. So the AFC South Division and the NFC South Division. Our faves and fades for fantasy football in 2021. The AFC South, Tennessee Titans are at the top of the heap.
That's where it begins, and it begins and ends with the Colts and the Titans.
Right.
The other 2 teams in this division, they have jerseys and helmets. That's about the nicest thing I can say.
Oh, come on. I mean, one of the 2 has at least a couple of interesting fantasy pieces. There's another one that you got to come up with excuses on how to fit people into this category.
One of these teams has a fantasy relevant player, and the other one has 2, and it's the 2 that nobody seems to be talking about.
Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans first. Faves and fades for the 2021 fantasy football season. My favorite for the Tennessee Titans is Julio Jones. I think there's too many people that are underselling Julio Jones. Everybody's throwing out, he's injury prone. Well, not really. He's not really injury prone. He has missed games here and there. He is on the injury report a lot. However, Julio Jones is a guy that's played at least 14 games in 7 of his 9 seasons in the NFL. I feel like that's pretty good. Now, I get that he's getting older, and as you get older, injury risk becomes more important. Here's the thing: if you're not getting A.J. Brown, I'd feel pretty okay getting Julio Jones as well. I think this team can sustain 2 stars.
I don't think you can sustain 2 stars in the passing game that will continue to be what you expect them to be. Mm-hmm. I just don't buy it. Julio Jones was a 1,300-plus yard a season guy.
Yes.
At the end of the day, Ryan Tannehill, how many yards do you think Ryan Tannehill had last year? How many yards did he throw for?
4,000.
Too high.
3,500.
3,800.
Okay, 3,800.
33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Interception rate was 1.5, which, by the way, is half of damn near every other season of his career. I just don't think he can sustain that because you're still going to run Derrick Henry into the ground. Derrick Henry in 17 games is going to carry the ball 300 times. Fact or fiction?
Yeah, fact.
Average NFL team runs 70 plays a game. He's running at about 25 of those. Sprinkling another 5 to 7 carries for somebody else. All right, you're 35 passes a game. Tannehill's always going to vaguely like tight ends. I don't see for these two to live up to where they're being drafted. You're going to have two 1,500-yard receivers. And I don't buy it. Julio's injury history scares me. The fact he's getting older scares me. The fact he's going from a dome to outside scares me. It's a litany of things. And I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I'm saying I'm not taking him in the 4th round, which is pretty much where he's going right now.
Yeah.
I'm not taking him over Chris Godwin. I'm not taking him over a slew of other guys that are right there. That's why he's my fade. And by fade, I mean I don't like him where he's being drafted. It's not that I don't like him at all.
He's a guy to me that I would be happy drafting him at the end of the 4th round, 5th round. I haven't seen him go anywhere lower than middle of the 5th round. He's a guy that at some point the value becomes too much to pass up. And if you're lucky enough, there's going to be people in your league that are going to sleep on him because of all the things that we've just said. Because of he was hurt last year and only played 9 games last year, and he's 32 years old. I don't care. He's still a great threat to me for me in fantasy. I think he's going to be good in this offense. They're not going to be able to single in on him because of A.J. Brown. I just think there's a lot of opportunity there for him.
There will be opportunity because there's not a lot else there. You do have to understand they used a 3rd-round pick on a wide receiver. Des Fitzpatrick, or it was a 4th-round pick. He was early in the 4th. So he's going to get some run. Josh Reynolds is going to get some run. They still have Anthony Ferkser. And you're going to run a lot with Derrick Henry. I think it's a lot to ask. If you look at Julio Jones throughout his career, his best seasons, he was at 140, 150 or more targets. I don't see a path that he's going to average 10 targets a game. Don't buy it. So I would. You're talking about value. If he slid into the 5th, 6th round, all the way in. If I'm in a league with a bunch of guys that feel the same way I do about him and he slides, all the way in.
Yep.
To me, A.J. Brown is the far superior wide receiver on this team.
I agree.
How many receivers in the NFL would you take over A.J. Brown right now? Yeah, that was not a rhetorical
probably
question.
3.
2.
Maybe 3.
It's Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins. That's it.
Okay.
I would have him as the 3rd best receiver in the NFL.
I would probably put Stephon Diggs there ahead of him, but
I won't. It's 1 year. He's good. Stephon Diggs, by the way, is another guy that I cannot buy into. I can't buy into him where he's going.
Early 2nd round.
Yeah, regression to the mean's too much of a thing. He would have to duplicate what he did last year, which he's never done before in his career. And I'm not underselling the player. Julio Jones and Stephon Diggs are in the same boat to me.
Yeah.
Like the player, don't like where they're going.
I agree. So your favorite is A.J. Brown.
100%.
Mine's Julio Jones. My fade is Ryan Tannehill. And it's all based on his ADP.
Where he's going.
He's going as the 11th quarterback overall.
He's going in the 7th round. Oh, by the way, hold on. But before we move off A.J. Brown,
Yeah.
I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
I just told you that in Julio Jones' best years, he averaged 140. 1 year he had 200 targets. It's the most targets A.J. Brown's had in either year he's been in the NFL.
128.
106.
Wow. Okay.
And he had 84 in the other year. The 106 was in 14 games. I will say that. But it's 106. He's gone over 1,000 yards both years. To think Julio Jones is going to cash off that value, you think he's going to somehow out-target what A.J. Brown has ever done by 25? No way. I didn't look up Corey
Solid
Davis.
point.
I'm curious, just for posterity's sake, how many Corey Davis saw? Yep, about where I thought it was, 92. He had 1,000 yards at about 92 targets. So you had two receivers that were the clear 1 and 2. One of them was just north of 100, the other was just south of 100. Just remember that when you're all dead sold on Julio Jones.
Right. To me, I loved Ryan Tannehill coming into last football season. I thought there was a chance that he was going to outdo his ADP, and he did by a large margin. I think he was going in the 8th or 9th round last year in fantasy drafts and ended up as the number 7 quarterback in fantasy football. Yes, I get it that he has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL since he took over the starting job in Tennessee. So that was week 7 of 2019. In that time, he has scored 575.3 fantasy football points. That's 3rd among all quarterbacks in that time. Meanwhile, he's done it on fewer attempts than most everybody that's going to be anywhere near the top of that list. He's been 16th in pass attempts. His efficiency is off the charts. The question is, how much of that was because of Arthur Smith?
I don't think it's a great deal because Ryan Tannehill's a very smart guy. Somebody, and I can't remember the name or I would give him the shout out here. Somebody that commented on our Titans video said Ryan Tannehill was involved in every offensive meeting in every film room and everything because he was basically running the offense partially himself.
Yeah.
I've heard very much the same thing. I don't think it's going to be a precipitous drop-off. There is going to be a discrepancy. What I think is going to hurt is how much Jonnu Smith fit that lineup. This is a play-action-based offense. And the other thing that bothers me, I don't know that Derrick Henry can hold up to this workload again. I don't know that a semi-truck could hold up to the workload that they put him through. And so if I have a regression on Derrick Henry, it means I'm going to have a regression on Ryan Tannehill. Because the more he throws, the more likely he is to revert to that 60.5, 61.5, 58% completion guy. And that guy, I have no interest in drafting at all. The 65% completion guy he was last year, yeah, I don't want to take him in the 7th round. He's just in that nebulous spot for me of I don't want to take quarterback there.
Right.
I live by the Ricky Bobby theory of quarterbacks. I will either be first or last. I will not be in the middle.
Ryan Tannehill's a fine fantasy option, but not where he's going, in my opinion. So that puts him in the fade category for me. I still think this team is going to be phenomenal. And like I said with Julio Jones, I think that Ryan Tannehill is going to throw enough to be able to sustain both of them and give you good fantasy outcomes for both of the receivers. I like the Tennessee Titans offense.
I do as well.
And I think, aside from tight end, I'm going to want at least a little sampling of every little piece in every league that I'm in.
I was, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't nitpicking on Julio Jones, but I am. I had to find a fade.
Yep.
And he's the only guy I could possibly see not liking where his ADP's at. Tannehill, his ADP's fine. I just won't take him there.
Yeah. Congratulations, Tennessee. You got a winner. Fantasy favorites and fades for the Indianapolis Colts. My favorite is Carson Wentz. I've bought into the reuniting with Frank Reich that he can recapture his former close to MVP form. I get that was several years ago. It was 2017 was the year that all happened. But you think about it, the 2 subsequent years after, he wasn't bad.
Nope.
It was just last year that we saw so much bad that everybody thought, oh, look, Carson Wentz can't do it anymore.
When he had a rookie sitting sitting behind him that a portion of the fan base was screaming for from about week 4. I think Carson Wentz is going to be just fine.
Carson Wentz has an 11th round ADP right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd rather do that than Ryan Tannehill in the 7th.
No doubt. No doubt about it, because I'm getting a guy who might have the upside of being a top 10 quarterback. And you're telling me I can pick that up in the 11th, maybe 12th round, depending on who's in my league? A lot of people are out on Carson Wentz. I'm not going to be one of them. I think he's going to be one of the value fantasy steals of the year. You forget, in the 3 years, so the rookie year didn't go swimmingly. Last year didn't go. There's no other way to put it. But
well, you never use
horribly.
a quarterback's rookie year against them.
Right. Last year went horribly.
Yeah, because his number one receiver, I think, was me.
Right. In those other 3 years, he had a quarterback rating of over 100, and he only threw 7 interceptions each year. It's the 15 interceptions that he threw last year. You had the, 9 fumbles or something like that on top of it. He had 24 turnovers last year. It was not good. He got sacked 50 times and he was running for his life. Now you're going to put him behind the best offensive line in football. You know, his weapons could use a little bit of an upgrade, but there's also opportunity for these weapons.
Fact or fiction, Paris Campbell would have been the best receiver on the Philadelphia Eagles last year.
Fact.
There you go.
He's the third option.
That's my sweeping hot analysis. Plus, he's got 2 tight ends here because I like Mo Alley Cox and I like Jack Doyle.
Yeah.
Best running game he's ever had with Jonathan Taylor. I agree with everything you said on Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. My projections have him at 4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions in 17 games.
In the 11th round, possibly the 12th. Mm-hmm. Now, the fades, there are none. There are no fades for the Indianapolis Colts, because here's the thing. There's a lot of indecision about what this team is going to look like and what they're going to be. There's not a single player on this team that I look at their current ADP and go, yeah, I'm out on that one.
Hilton's the one that I want to, but he's so low.
Right. I look at all of them and go, yeah. If I'm sitting there in the 12th round, and T.Y. Hilton, I've got my choice from T.Y. Hilton and a whole bunch of 3s for other teams. Okay. I'm all in. They're not being overpriced, any of them. Even you get down to the end of the draft, and chances are Nyheim Hines is still going to be out there. He's a guy that, depending on how they use him, he had standalone fantasy value last year. And so he may have some again, and I'm willing to take a late-round flyer on that.
Here's my hesitation.
Okay.
So last year, the Colts, the passing offense wasn't very good, right? Mm-hmm. No. How many teams in the NFL average more passing yards than them?
9.
10. They were 11th. I don't think it's going to get markedly better. I think the team will be better, but they're going to run more. Mm-hmm. T.Y. Hilton played 15 games last year, had 56 catches. I just don't think it's going to get much better than that. That's what I think he is at this point. And I know he's had injuries. He's always had injuries. Now he's 32 years old.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that I'm not desperately trying to get him. You mentioned him earlier to me, and I was looking at guys that are drafted around him. I would rather have Laviska Shenault, who we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. A slew of other guys. Or my fave, Michael Pittman.
Well, looking at Fantasy Pros, it's the site that I use all the time for the ADP. T.Y. Hilton is 116, so that puts him in the 11th round. I haven't been in a mock draft yet or a real draft yet where he hasn't gone in the 13th or lower. Most people are concerned on whether or not he can have a bounce back year. I think it's possible that he does. And if he's still sitting there on the board in the 13th round, and I'm looking at T.Y. Hilton or Cole Beasley or Mecole Hardman or Gabriel Davis, it's obvious the one with the most upside to me is T.Y. Hilton. So that's why I couldn't have...
I think he has the lowest upside of every guy you just said.
Really?
I think he has the highest floor. Gabriel Davis is the 2 in Buffalo. I like him markedly better than T.Y. Hilton. I think this is the Michael Pittman breakout year. I'm all aboard the Michael Pittman hype train.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with you on that one.
Jonathan Welch said in the comments, we're talking about them like they're getting ready to play Kansas City in the AFC title game. No, we're talking about them like every player on the team is people haven't bought into Carson Wentz because there's this narrative that Carson Wentz sucks. Well, what that does is it takes every weapon you have outside of the running back and pushes them down. I don't think this is even the best team in this division. And I flip-flop on that probably every time we talk about this. They're 1A, Tennessee's 1B, or vice versa. But, I mean, I don't think they're getting out of the first round of the playoffs. That being said, for fantasy, which is what we're talking about here, every one of their guys is depressed because a lot of people don't buy Carson Wentz. So you're getting Michael Pittman in the 11th or 12th round, T.Y. Hilton sometimes in the 13th round. Paris Campbell's going completely undrafted. No tight end on this team's being drafted. By the way, it's Jack Doyle, not Mo Alley Cox. I know what's been said. I don't care. Mo Alley Cox can't block. You're planning on running the ball a lot. Just say this out loud. It's not that fucking hard to figure out. I've been in 2 fights on Twitter about this in the last, month. It's Jack Doyle, not Mo Alley Cox. You're in a tight end premium league. The only place he would need to be drafted. I think you will want to own him by the end of the year.
Duly noted. I think Indianapolis, like you said, there are very little expectations for this offense, fantasy-wise, and that's why there are no fades for this team. It's just like the actual team. They're really fucking solid. It's going to translate to fantasy football. It's going to translate to actual football. May not give you the big pop weeks, but they're steady contributors all over this team, and for fantasy purposes as well. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we are live in the Wicked Weed studio. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different, the favorites and the fades for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There are a couple of fantasy relevant players on this team. They're not. Well, I think that's just a lie.
That's what I was looking for.
All right, let's talk about the faves for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Laviska Shenault is mine.
As well he should be.
Laviska Shenault is the wide receiver 1 for this team. We know all of the hype for this wide receiver core prior to last year and prior to the end of last year was all about DJ Shark. Laviska Shenault had a pretty damn good rookie season. He had 58 catches, 600 yards, scored 5 touchdowns. I think that was about where I expected him to be. Now he gets a better quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And he has apparently the trust of this coaching staff.
What do I tell you on a frequent basis about when people try to tell you who they are? What should you do? Listen. Yeah. Urban Meyer's trying to tell you what this offense is going to look like. He's had Travis Etienne lined up in the slot, in spite of the fact he's not a slot receiver. He was devastated when he missed out on Kadarius Toney. What does that tell you? He's planning on using a lot of guys out of the slot. Where does Laviska Shenault play? Out of the slot. Who has he waxed poetic about all offseason long? Laviska Shenault. Who showed out on tape at times last year? Laviska Shenault. Who has he talked shit about in the media? DJ Chark. Tells you everything you need to know.
I know things are going to change with a different coaching staff, but when Laviska Shenault is on the field, he commands your attention as the quarterback.
He can just do so much.
Last year, in all of his routes ran, when he was on the field, he was targeted 19.8% of the time. That's more per route than any of the other receivers on the team. And more than Marvin Jones has ever had in his entire career.
Yeah, stop with the Marvin Jones thing.
Laviska Shenault, to me, is the guy that you want to target off of this team, and it's because he's such a damn great value.
He also has great hands. 76% catch rate last year. That's not even catchable balls. They were thrown at him. He caught 76% of it. Of them. From Gardner Minshew and Jake Luton. Man, I was wrong about Jake Luton.
I think the 10th round is a hell of a steal for Laviska Shenault.
He's a great wide receiver 5, where he's being drafted right now. I'm all in for that. My favorite lineup construction is to go 1 tight end, 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers through 10 rounds. Might flip the running backs and the receivers depending on how it plays out.
Right.
Right now, I seem to be getting better value on receivers later. So I stack up on them later.
Yeah. Your favorite is James Robinson.
Yeah, because people don't seem to be listening when Urban Meyer talks. This was the only player on this team that was worth a shit last year, offensively. So you think he took a running back out of Clemson and all of a sudden he's just going to forget about James Robinson? He's going in the 7th round in places. That's dumb.
He is going to get the workload to surpass his ADP. I don't think there's any way around that. We could be completely wrong. Everything could shift in training camp, and all of a sudden, Urban Meyer falls in love with Travis Etienne and starts using him differently than he used him in OTAs. Would I be surprised by that? No, not really. But there's still going to be a role here. They're not going to bring Travis Etienne and just run him into the ground. There's already a lot of tread on those tires from what he did at Clemson. I mean, this was a guy who was a phenomenal performer, broke the damn ACC scoring record, all of this. What does that mean? It means he touched the ball a shitload in college. And there's a shelf life on quarterback, or a shelf life, very small shelf life, on running backs. I think this is going to be a split backfield at best. And I think it's going to take several weeks for that to even happen.
I would say it's 60-40 James Robinson. I would forever take James Robinson ahead of Travis Etienne. I don't like the... How do I say this? There are a lot of things I saw on tape with Travis Etienne that I think could be exploited in the NFL. And this thought that he's just going to come in and be an immediate bell cow it's just not true. It's just not true.
Right. He's going to be used as more of a gadget guy.
That's what I think. I think he is being used in the way that Urban Meyer planned on using Kadarius Toney. Who he was all in on, and I said that from very early on.
Yeah, I think you're going to be you're going to be very pleased with the value that you can get out of James Robinson in the 8th or 9th round, because he could very well end up in the top half of running backs in fantasy football.
I see him as an RB2. He's an RB2 that's being drafted as a 3 or a 4. I don't see a way he's not in the top 25, especially in non-PPR. Because I think he's going to get tremendous workload.
Now, do I think that there's not a point where you would ever take Travis Etienne? No. Every player has their own value. It depends on what kind of league you're in as well. I mean, if you're in a dynasty league and you're doing the startup draft, yeah, go after Travis Etienne. Sure. But to me, he's a dynasty stash that has limited value this year.
I don't agree that he has limited value.
Really?
He doesn't have a value of where he's being drafted. He's being drafted in the 5th freaking round. That's stupid.
Right.
And that's people taking what they saw in college and not listening to any of these things.
Right, but that's what I mean by limited value. I mean, if you take him there, you have to expect that he's going to have a phenomenal year and he's going to get a guaranteed workload. There's not a guaranteed workload for him right now. There is immediate upside should something happen to James Robinson, God forbid, in training camp, then Travis Etienne's your guy. Then he will be everything that everybody wants him to be. But as long as James Robinson's still in the equation, I think he's limited in what he can give you. The great dynasty stash, rookie year, I'm not going to expect too much from him.
I would probably agree with that.
Now, your fade is DJ Shark.
Yes.
Urban Meyer has pointed out some deficiencies.
And DJ Chark comes back and says, I like being coached hard.
Yeah.
Okay. He's also the one, and it is really hard for me to believe. Look, I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. He's the highest rated quarterback I've ever evaluated, yada, 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 yada. Coming into this system, dealing with all of the things that he is dealing with, I really struggle to believe that he's going to come in and be able to force feed the ball to his one. And that's what DJ Chark is. I don't care how bad Urban Meyer doesn't like him, whatever the case may be. The fact that Urban has spent all offseason with everything I've heard coming out of that place talking about slot guys. You don't have a tight end that's even worth talking about. You got Chris Manhurts from Carolina, who's more of a blocker than he is anything. That just tells me you're going to see. I think this is going to be a gimmicky-ass offense. And I don't buy DJ Chark. I think people are going to draft him based on what they know of him. He had the rapport with Gardner Minshew. I don't know that he's going to be given the chance to have the rapport with Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that there just seems to have fallen out of favor with this coaching staff a lot. So he's definitely my fade.
Definitely your fade. Let's talk about the Houston Texans.
Do we have to?
As far as fantasy football is concerned, there's nobody on this offense that is going to be ranked high.
This will be short because there ain't much to talk about.
Right. But if you had to pick a favorite and you had to pick a fade, well, the fade could be the entire team. But I went with Phillip Lindsay as my favorite. I think you're making a just cataclysmic mistake. You're taking your belief of what the player is, and you're not listening to what the team is telling you. Yes.
They signed 9 running backs. And I'm making that a hyperbolic number, but they have 5 legitimate running backs on this roster. Who signed first?
I don't know. Who signed first?
Phillip Lindsay.
Okay.
The rest of them all signed after him.
Aha.
Including Rex Burkhead, including Mark Ingram. That's their way of telling you. They already had David Johnson. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, David Johnson, and that was a previous regime, on and on. I don't care. I don't want any running back on this team. We say everybody has a value eventually. Not on this team, they don't. This is going to be a dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. I am Seacrest out on any running back for this team.
Phillip Lindsay, the only reason he's my favorite is because he's one of those guys that I get to the end of a draft and I go, who's still available? He's the most talented out of all of the running backs that are still going to be left toward the end of your draft, last couple of rounds. If you're looking at taking a flyer on a guy, Phillip Lindsay to me is somebody that could be moved by this team. I think they could get value out of him in a trade with somebody should another running back go down before the season starts. I think it's a great possibility that they may tap out and see what they can get out of him. Somebody might be willing to offer him something. Even if he's still on this team, he's the most talented running back that they have, and I think eventually it can pay off for you this season. He will eventually take over. Yeah, I believe in the talent. I believe eventually he can take over as the starting running back of this team, or at least the piece that is worth anything. Somebody's going to rack up points for this team.
That's not necessarily true.
You don't think so?
No. Bad offenses don't score points. This is the worst offense in the league.
Right, but the ones that do score the points, they're going to have some value.
And I don't think it's going to be him.
Okay.
I mean, you talk about the belief in him and all this other shit. Mm-hmm. Then why'd you sign 400 other running backs? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, but the whole Texans thing doesn't make sense to me. You went with Brandon Cooks as your favorite.
Yeah, because
he's my fade.
Yeah, because he's a legitimate one. By the way, how long is Phillip Lindsay's deal with the Houston Texans? That's what I was trying to find.
2 years?
1.
1 year?
It's 1 year. Yeah, they're not committed to him in the long term. Mm-hmm. And I got news for you. They're not going to franchise him, and I don't see a snowball's chance in hell he re-signs here. That's the reason that he would be in the fade category for me.
Okay.
Brandon Cooks, I don't give a damn who the quarterback is. He's the best receiver on this team. He's the one really talented player on this team. And people will say, oh, that means he's going to get number one coverage. I agree. He has. And he's still good. And he's going in the 50s? I think he's in the 50s of wide receivers.
41.
It was in the 40s. Then.
9th round. He's wide receiver 41.
He's a guy loving best ball. And I will like for season long. I will be fine with him as my 4th wide receiver, which is what he would be in the 9th round.
Yeah. I'm just not taking him over guys like Curtis Samuel, Devontae Parker.
I'd take him over both.
Michael Pittman.
I'd take him over all
Antonio Brown, who we're going to talk about later.
I'd take him over all 4 of them.
I would be out because he's the only weapon that they have.
That's the point.
Oh, I understand. I understand your point, but he's also going to get all of the coverage. So
he won't get all of the coverage because the one thing they have is fast-ass wide receivers. And he's just a burner, too. There's a myth about that. There's a misconception about the number. He's the only one receiver on the team. Yeah, he gets more coverage. Doesn't mean it's going to stop him. And Tyrod Taylor, if he's the starting quarterback, he's still a starting-level quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
It's not like they're starting Greg McElroy. I have no idea why that was the name that came to my head.
I don't either.
Or Brady Quinn. That's not what's happening here. I was listening to him on the way in here. Great analyst, shit quarterback.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I don't.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't want any part of the Houston Texans.
I'm not craving it. But if you drop Brandon Cooks in my lap in the 10th round, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. You're going to regret doing that at least 4 times this year. Because he is as boomer bust as they come. But by God, if you hit those booms, they're quite nice.
See, that's the Russian roulette that you play, though. Because he's the kind of guy that I would get, and I would be completely wrong about what weeks he's going to go off and which
Will
ones he's
Fuller
not.
syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did Brandon Cooks finish among wide receivers in PPR last year?
I'd say he was 17?
16 in 15 games. If he'd played 16 games and you add just his average per game, he would have been 11.
Nice. He also had Deshaun Watson then, though.
I understand that. You're going from 11 to 41 based on a quarterback? Okay, then. Because there's a lot of receivers between 1 and 40 who have shitty quarterbacks.
You ain't wrong. He may be the one to have, and I may be just off my rocker on this one.
Wouldn't be the first time. Correct.
I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. As always, we're in the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. Faves and fades for 2021 in fantasy football. Let's talk about the NFC South. Ooh, can I play my thing?
Fire them cannons, by
I have the ability to stop it here.
The world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
fire them cannons, by golly, put more powder in those things.
Thank you.
It hurts less when I do it.
Okay, it's just me pushing the button that that pushes your buttons. But fantasy faves and fades for the world champions. My favorite's Antonio Brown. It's all based on the value where he is going right now. He is falling down there in that 11th round area, and I am all in. Antonio Brown. Last year, obviously, it was weird. He had to be, reinstated midway through the season by the NFL. He came in and he found a groove with Tom Brady late in the season. There's a fun little stat that you will hear all Antonio Brown people throw out. In the last 3 games of the season, he scored 4 touchdowns. Okay, you also have to think about who they played in the last 3 games of the season. They played Atlanta twice. And I think it was Detroit in the middle of that. They were very bad teams at the end of the season. However, that connection with Tom Brady did carry over into the playoffs. And he scored a couple of touchdowns in the playoffs as well. So the last 5 or 6 games that he played last year, he scored 6 touchdowns. he was targeted a lot by Tom Brady, and he surpassed every expected fantasy value that was placed on him for those 6 games. I think with a full season, a full off season, there's no suspensions in the way. Everybody's coming in with the vigor to get it done again, to go back to back. I think Antonio Brown is a hell of a deal if you pick him up in the 11th round of a draft, because he could possibly be a top 25 wide receiver this year.
Here's my problem. Tom Brady's going to throw about 600 passes this year. Just what he does. 100 and I would say 100 and Godwin got 84 targets hurt last year, so I would say he's probably at 125 to 130. Mike Evans will be in the same space. The tight ends will combine to have probably 100. The running backs will probably combine for 100. That means you have 170 left to split between Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, Jalen Darden. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I feel the same way about Mike Evans. The reason Mike Evans is my fade is because the only reason you don't talk about how big of a bag of dicks he was for the vast majority of last year is because he had 12 touchdowns. That's it. He was How many games did he have last year that he had like 2 catches for 2 touchdowns?
I think it was.
I think it was
at least 3.
Where it was number of catches, number of touchdowns. Very boomer bust. I just don't. Look, Brady's made a career out of hitting little shifty slot receivers. Well, he's got 2 of those. He's actually got 4 or 5 of those, if I'm being really honest. Chris Godwin's the best one of the 2. I am all in on Chris Godwin. I have come up against the narrative of I'm in the 4th round, I can take Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. It's Chris Godwin for me every time.
It was only 2, actually. It was 2 out of the first 3 weeks of the season where Mike Evans had a touchdown and 1 catch against New Orleans to open. He had 2 touchdowns on 2 catches against Denver in week 3.
And then he had another one later.
And then, he had one where he had 5 catches, scored a touchdown. 6 catches, scored a touchdown. 5 catches, scored another touchdown. Oh, there it is. I missed it. The Kansas City game. He had 3 catches, scored twice.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
So it was 3. Yeah.
Yeah, my problem is that there's just not enough targets to go around. By the way, here's the other problem. I've told you 100 times. If I've told you once, I've told you 100 times. 44-year-old quarterback has never survived in this league. Now, said the same thing about a 43-year-old quarterback last year. Eventually, I'm going to be right. Because no matter how good his workout regimen is, he's 6 years away from AARP. If Tom Brady got hurt, I don't want a damn thing to do with this team. Nothing. And so for me, there is a little, that's in the back of my head. Tom catches 1 good shot to the brain and misses a few weeks, I'm out. Which
would very well concern me with a guy like Mike Evans, where you're going to have to spend a 3rd round, 4th round pick on Mike Evans. A year ago, that would have been, you would have looked at that and went, everybody is drunk. After seeing his boomer bust last year, he's not the guy I want. The guy that I want in this offense is Chris Godwin. I've been faced with that decision in more ways that, in more times that I've wanted as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Sitting there in the 4th round going, Mike Evans is still here, Chris Godwin's still here. Which one of these guys do I want? And it's Chris Godwin's all the time, every time, and it's not even close for me. So I'm completely with you on Mike Evans fading him. Leonard Fournette is my fade just because he's not the running back to have. Ronald Jones is the guy that's going to get the yardage. Leonard Fournette may beat Ronald Jones in touchdowns. But there again, I think it's going to be close. I think it'll be really close.
Without looking, how many rushes did Leonard Fournette have last year in the regular season?
Oh, gosh, it was, I don't know. I want to say 90-something.
97.
Yeah.
Ronald Jones had 192. Here's my problem with your theory. When did they get better? When that changed. And Leonard Fournette was all of a sudden getting the toe. I think this is going to be a dead split. I think this team's going to run more than you think they do. Problem is, I think it's going to be a 50-50 split, and you'll never know which one's getting in the end zone.
Yeah.
I want to avoid it like grim death. But in terms of real life football, I would say they run more than you think they do.
They very well could. I mean, I think they're still going to. I mean, Bruce Arians is still their coach. So
Arians will throw 600 times
yeah.
every time in any season he's in the NFL.
Right.
So that's not going to stop.
People are being swayed by playoff Lenny. Leonard Fournette was good in the playoffs. I mean, he was efficient. He scored a lot on the limited amount of touches that he had, but it's not like he averaged 5 yards a carry and was just, ramming it down people's throats. It was still the same Leonard Fournette show. If he's getting the ball, it's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. To me, I think it's Ronald Jones is the guy that you want in this offense. And Leonard, they're going at the same spot pretty much. I think let's see, what are their rankings? Okay, so Leonard Fournette's running back 30. Ronald Jones is running back 31. I think they should have at least 2 rounds of separation between them rather than being 5 spots apart on ADP.
I don't. I think they should be right beside each other. I think it's going to be about a 150-150 split. Mm-hmm. And I don't want either one of them.
Okay.
I'm good. I'll pass. I'll go Zach Moss. Give me Zach Moss, and you can have this to yourself.
We are live in the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Tank Spencer, and he's Jeremy Greene. Fantasy faves and fades for 2021.
Carolus, monster of the South. Second cousin to Mothra. Never lost to Godzilla. Never to the Zilla.
Carolus Panthers. I really like this team.
I do too. A lot.
It was hard for me to nitpick on who to fade and who's my favorite. I could have gone spicy hot take and said my favorite is Christian McCaffrey. Because if I'm picking at the top of a draft,
you couldn't have done that.
Huh?
You couldn't have said Christian McCaffrey was your favorite.
Why is that?
Because I'm the one that does the graphics, and I would have looked at you and said, "Do it again."
Christian McCaffrey, no doubt, is the piece that if you can get him, go get him. However, I will say DJ Moore is my favorite. I have high belief in him with this offense. Joe Brady knows how to use him. And Sam Darnold is going to be, he's got a brand new friend. And I think his brand new friend is better than his old friend. That's why my fade is Robbie Anderson.
Can we stop with the connection that Darnold and Robbie had? Can we stop with that, please? I've watched it. I've watched every pass that was ever thrown between the two of them. It wasn't that good.
It's being overblown.
It was so boomer bust. I mean, so boomer bust. Mm-hmm. I need you to understand that the last year that Robbie Anderson played for the New York Jets, he played in 16 games. Sam was his quarterback. Hit 779 yards. 90 of it was on one play. One play against the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was a great moment because I fucking hate the Cowboys. Yeah, it's so overblown. Mm-hmm. And people are overblowing this to the point now Robbie Anderson's going to. I like Robbie Anderson. I mean, for fuck's sake, we've done this together for years. I've had Robbie Anderson. He's my DraftKings boyfriend and has been for years because I'm pretty damn good at picking the weeks that he's going to be that dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want me to give you a little secret on Robbie Anderson? Here's how you figure it out. Check the 40 time of whoever's defending him because he never gets double coverage. And he is fast as hell. But he's fast as hell in one line. No cuts, none of that shit. In a line. 9 route. Go. That's all he can do. Now, I do think there is something to be said that Robbie will be better as a deep threat in Carolina than he was in New York. Swirling winds. Robbie's not the best tracker of the ball that you've ever seen. I mean, he's not bad, but the wind would throw you off. And I think that cost him some big plays, but so did bad quarterback play. So
did his attitude on Sunday. I can remember watching Jets games with you last year or 2 years ago, and you screaming about him not running a full route because he knows he's not getting the ball, and he's just.
That was more a thing with Gase, though.
Right.
I mean, he didn't like the offense because Gase ran a lot of decoy shit. And, by the end of the day, the 10th time I've run a 9 route and I've run 40 yards downfield, for you to throw a check down on a swing pass, I'd probably be pissed off too. I think the attitude thing with Robbie's overblown.
But what I'm saying is there were also a couple of instances where he actually did get targeted and wasn't expecting it. Like he was going half-assed on his route to begin with, and he got overthrown. It was like, yeah, well, if you'd have been on your horse from the beginning, you would have gotten it. I can get, being stuck at a bad offense and just being bored with what's going on. We haven't had that problem in Carolina with him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I get it. That just does concern me. And the fact that this quarterback was, it's like a window back into the old relationship. I think it's completely overblown.
I do too. Robbie Anderson should be about an 8th round guy.
Well, that's where his ADP is right now, and I'm out.
That's not where it is. I mean, fantasy footballers who I absolutely love think he's a 5th rounder.
That's dumb.
Stop that.
No. I mean, by current,
I'm out on that. I think DJ Moore is a 5th rounder.
By current ADP, he's going about in the same spot as Brandon Cooks, a guy we talked about with the Houston Texans. Which of the two would you take?
You're reading something retarded. I don't know what it is. You're reading like children's ADP or something, because you're just, what are you looking at?
Fantasy Pros.
Yeah, you're looking at something that's off. I mean, and bad off, because it's not recent at all. Robbie Anderson's going universally in about the 7th round. I'll find him. Yep, 8. Beginning of the 8th. That's where he's at. Mm-hmm. He's wide receiver number. Of course, you're not going to tell me that. Right now, he's wide receiver number
35.
27.
27 on yours? Okay.
Among ADP in the last 15 days, beginning of the 8th into the 7th, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good that high. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could be coerced into the 8th round if there'd been a huge run on wide receivers. I'm not. I'm good. Exactly. I would much rather have DJ Moore. Much.
You got to spend way more to get him. You got to spend more draft capital to get him, but the payoff is going to be better.
Well, we got Zero Chill in the comments. Big Panthers fan. The one thing I will tell you is, yes, there is a rookie wide receiver of yours that I love. His name's not Terrace Marshall. It's Shi Smith.
Why?
Because Shi Smith's that dude. Just straight up. Played in a shitty offense with a shitty quarterback. Every team they played knew he was getting the ball, and you still couldn't stop him. The fact he lasted until, what was it, 6th round? Secret time? He's going to make an appearance on my expansion team. When we do the drafted players, he'll be there. I promise you. Rob Johnson asked, isn't DJ Moore a slot guy? Yes, he is. He can play on the outside, but he predominantly plays in the slot. That's why I like him so much with Sam Darnold. Just remember how good Sam Darnold was with Jamison Crowder. I understand it was a gay system. I get it. You don't have much in the way of a tight end here. Sam loves him some tight ends. So the makeup is you go with a slot guy.
Yeah.
DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be it is unbelievable to me this year. And I'll be honest with you, if I'm drafting in a dynasty draft, Shi Smith's a guy I'm chucking on a roster at the end. Knowing that people outside of this market probably don't even know who the hell he is. And I've been screaming, I mean, for fuck's sake, how many times have you heard me say that name?
A lot.
I screamed it from the mountaintops during the pre-draft. And then he wound up in Carolina, and I went, well, there's just another one they hit on. Matt Rule seems to be doing this pretty good.
I'm a Terrace Marshall guy myself when it comes to the rookies. I think it's sure. I mean, Shi Smith, he's got an ability to have value, but I think the best immediate value is going to be in Terrace Marshall.
My fear with Terrace Marshall is that
it's the Joe Brady connection. He's already played for Joe Brady. Joe knows how to get the best out of him. I feel like this is a path for him to have some value.
It's grossly overvalued.
Okay.
He played for a guy in college. Okay, that just means he likes the guy. Knows the guy likes the talent. Doesn't mean he's a scheme fit. Because here's the problem. They need Terrace Marshall to be playing on the outside. I don't know that he can do that. I don't know if the NFL, that he's not too slender to take. And here's why I say that. After watching the tape that I watched on him at LSU, if I'm a defensive coordinator, Zero Chill's either watched a lot of this channel or is reading my thoughts right now, because I think he's just calling out dudes that I've been super high on over the whole pre-draft process.
Don't sleep on Tommy Tremble.
Yeah, the dude that I was just drunk I was Gary Busey drunk on coming into the pre-draft process.
Right.
My fear with Terrace Marshall is that if I was a defensive coordinator, I see him on the outside, I just look at whoever's defending him, press him, get in his body, and fuck him up. Because he didn't get off jams well at all. He was bad against press coverage. Now, you put him in the slot, all of a sudden that changes. But how many guys are you going to run out of the slot at one time? To me, I don't think you can put DJ Moore on the outside to put Terrace Marshall in the slot. That doesn't make any sense. You're taking the better player and putting them in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
There you go. That's a way to say that. Never understood why you'd cut your damn nose off, but maybe because Tank's cooking raccoon or whatever the fuck it is. Goat. That's still the one.
Never mind. I could explain it, but I'm not.
Hashtag Tank eats goats.
Hashtag Tank will eat anything.
Fact. I don't think anybody ever doubted that.
Anything.
I don't think anybody ever looked at you and went, I'll bet that boy's picky.
That's why I always think it's stupid when people ask, do you care where we go to eat for dinner? Do I look like I care? No. You take me anywhere, I will find something I can eat.
The only time that Tank and pick would be in the same sentence, picky, is I'll bet that boy will pick food up off the floor and eat it.
Seen me do it.
Kevin Vick Memorial Bill.
Ain't done it yet today, but give me an opportunity. I'm a clumsy fucker. I drop lots of things.
Yeah, the fact he hadn't broken anything in the studio blows my mind. Watching him trip over the light tree all day, every day, that's fun.
Yeah, a whole lot of fun. All right, one team to go in the NFC South. Fantasy, what? Oh, yeah, I had them out of order. I forgot you denigrate the New Orleans Saints, so you put the Carolina Panthers ahead of them.
Because I think the Carolina Panthers are ahead of them. We're doing this in the order of how I think they finish in the division. Because I'm the one that does the graphics, and I have to put them in here, and that's how I remember them.
The New Orleans Saints, faves and fades for 2021 fantasy football. My favorite is Jameis Winston. Look, I couldn't stand the guy when he was our quarterback. I hated the fact that he threw so many interceptions and turned the ball over so many times, fumbling as well as throwing interceptions. But he has got a monster arm. And I think Sean Payton's going to be able to get a lot out of him this year. I will not be shocked to see him throw for well over 4,000 yards this year.
Here's my problem. I don't know that he's the quarterback.
He is the quarterback.
I think he is too. He's the more talented, whatever. I get all of those things. It's not your call to make.
I know.
I keep having to tell you this, of what you think about a guy and what these teams think about them don't mean shit to each other. Nothing. That's like the color of your car and what you're going to eat for lunch today. They don't mean jack shit to one another. And I'm just telling you, Sean Payton believes more in Taysom Hill than you think he does. That's why Alvin Kamara is my fade. With Jameis Winston, I'm fine with Kamara. I still don't like him at 4. I just feel like you're going to see a lot of loaded boxes because there's no weapons on this team. Outside of Thomas, who's in the slot, and Troutman, who is not going to get tremendously downfield. I just feel like you can stack the box and do some things to harass Kamara. If I knew Jameis was the starter for 17 games, and Taysom Hill played that tight end, pain in the ass little role that he played, I would full well agree with you. I don't know that. I'm willing to take the risk on that, but I'm not going to take much of a risk because I don't trust Sean Payton.
Here's the thing. You don't have to take much of a risk to get Jameis Winston. And
depends on where you are.
His overall ADP is 177.
Yeah, his range of outcomes is also the widest of any player in the NFL.
Granted. I mean, sure, there is a path that he's not the starter for this team. I think it's a very slim margin because I find it hard to believe that Sean Payton's going to look at this and go, my offense can be as dynamic as we need to be to make a splash this year. With Taysom Hill as opposed to being with Jameis Winston. I don't think it's close.
In the last 15 days, the highest that Jameis Winston has gone.
Okay.
Let me make sure I'm looking at the right category. Go all the way up. There we go. High to low. The highest he's gone is in the 6th round. The lowest he has gone is in the 13th round. That's now. That's last 15 days, fantasy drafts across every major platform. And I think they cut out like 5% outliers. So he might have gone in the first round of his sister's draft or some shit. And somebody might not have drafted him another, but I think they cut 5% off.
Right.
The outliers.
Okay.
There is no shot I take him in a round that's not double digits.
Oh, no. I definitely would not do that.
Well, here's the thing. Looking at the graph on him, about 60% of them you have to. He goes in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round in about 60% of the drafts.
In all of the mock drafts that I have been involved in so far, none of that's happening. I have not seen that translate into real life. Now, is there possible that somebody's doing that? Obviously. I mean, there could be people just like me who believe that Jameis Winston could come in here and he could be, the 5,000-yard or close guy again. Sure, some people are going to be too high on him, but for the most part, I mean, he's going as maybe QB 25 in a lot of drafts. And
Not anymore.
And to me, that's dumb.
Yeah, you're looking at outdated information. Right now, as of right now, he's right behind Carson Wentz in terms of ADP. And Carson Wentz, as of right now, is quarterback number. Winston's 20. Wentz is 19. Matt Ryan's 18. Deshaun Watson's 17. And to me, you're in that weird opportunity cost. What if Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback? He just set a pick on fire for no reason. I agreed with you a month ago. I don't know. He's gotten too high. I'd rather just take Deshaun Watson and say the hell with it.
Okay. Your favorite
is Michael Thomas, because people apparently forgot he was the best receiver in the league 1 calendar year ago. He was hurt last year, and now I've seen him go in the 4th round, which is stupid.
That is stupid.
Stupid. There are not 5 receivers in the NFL I'd take over him. 3 of them we've already talked about on the show. DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown.
Metcalf.
I wouldn't take DK Metcalf over him. I wouldn't, because I got Tyler Lockett and Dwayne Eskridge. Michael Thomas has Traequan Smith and me.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that was the 5th one. I knew I was missing one. I just couldn't think of one. I'm lower on Tyreek than everybody else, so. Love him, but not the 7th best player in the fantasy in a fantasy football draft.
Right.
Love him.
I probably won't have Michael Thomas anywhere.
I will. I already do.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
You already do?
Yeah. As of right now, I think of leagues that I've already drafted. I believe my what am I looking for here? Exposure to Michael Thomas is 100%. I've drafted 4 leagues so far. I don't think I don't have Michael Thomas in any of them. Got him in the 5th round in one of those.
That's
at the turn of round 5. That team, you should just go ahead and give me your money. I will give you a $1 discount if you'll just go ahead and give me the money now.
Right. Yeah. I haven't been in any drafts where he's fallen that far. But if he did, I would have to consider it. Look, I don't think this offense is going to miss all that much of a beat. I think there's still going to be a lot of value here. And you talk shit about Traequan Smith. I think he's a fine option as a late flyer that may end up being a legitimate wide receiver too.
I'm good. I think they're going to have just a mishmash of wide receivers. I don't think Traequan Smith's a 2 in this league. Here's the problem of when you get, especially when your best wide receiver is a slot guy. A lot of outside corners can't play in the slot. You're the number 1 option on the outside, which means you're probably going to get the number 1 corner. Traequan Smith against 1 coverage. Yeah, I'm going to pass aggressively. Yeah, I have no interest in Traequan Smith.
Okay.
My fate on Alvin Kamara is just there's so much up in the air with this offense. I look at, all right, so to pick Alvin Kamara, the lowest he has gone in any non-outlier draft in the last 15 days is 8. which means you're going to have to take him over at least one of the players I'm getting ready to say. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, and Travis Kelce. You can take Zeke out of that because I didn't mean to say him. He's in that the Cowboy ADP thing. We've been over this before. You're going to have to take him over Taylor, Chubb, Barkley, Henry, Cook, McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Travis Kelce. I see no shot I do that. Me personally. Not with not knowing who the quarterback is. I think there's a little overblown to how Sean Payton is just an offensive guru with the quarterback whisperer shit. It's weird how smart quarterbacks, like Bill Belichick all of a sudden was a quarterback whisperer when he'd had Vinny Testaverde. Oh, that weird. Tom Brady, and all of a sudden, he's a genius.
Right.
I think the same thing could be said for Sean Payton. Just remember, there's a lot of one of the greatest of years when he was a coordinator. Mm-hmm. Not like he was lighting the world on fire. Just saying. I love him as a coach. I just think it's a little overblown that, Jameis is going to wind up here and be the star of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what the history on that is Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. And then?
Kamara's ADP of top 5 is too high for me.
4. As of right now, it's 4. Mm-hmm. There's no shot I would take him over Saquon, Nick Chubb, or Jonathan Taylor.
Agreed.
Aaron Jones, I could be talked into. I wouldn't take him over Travis Kelce either.
Right. I would be willing to take him at the back end of the first round, but he's not making it that far. Hell, we did the Scott Fish Bowl, I did the Scott Fish Bowl Satellite League. Finally, the friggin' draft ended. For me, it's still not over. They still have like 5 picks left, but my team is completely finished. It only took us 2 damn weeks to do 22 rounds in this slow draft. Yeah. Alvin Kamara went 3rd overall in the best ball league. There was no shot that I was going to be in on that.
I can't go that high.
No shot in hell. Still a good player. Still going to have a lot of value at the top of a draft. Just not at the very top of the draft. I had no fades for the New Orleans Saints. Because Michael Thomas.
Just Kamara.
Yeah. Mine's because I like Michael Thomas. I like Alvin Kamara. I think the offense is still going to be fine. The rest of the pieces for the offense you can get later in the draft, and they're all spotted about where they need to be. Traequan Smith, like I said, you could probably get him the last 2 rounds of your draft if you wanted to as a late round flyer, a guy who might be able to pop. Latavius Murray.
No.
Latavius Murray to me is a guy that has independent fantasy value.
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fat person?
In a big league and with a big roster, yeah, he's going to be a guy that I'm going to be fine taking him in the 15th round.
I actually like Latavius Murray. If something happened to Kamara, he immediately becomes an high-end RB2.
Agreed.
And my derision on Kamara, you're more than welcome to take him in the first round. If you have a safer path, I like to go safe in the first round. That's the reason I'm not really in on Saquon. Mm-hmm. I'm in on Jonathan Taylor. I'm in on Travis Kelce because I know what I'm getting there. Kamara, I don't know what this offense is going to look like. But if you have some strategy where you go Kamara in the first and let's say DeAndre Hopkins in the second, Josh Jacobs in the third. Okay. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. I think the riskiest player on that team is your first-round pick. But got a very high ceiling. So I understand the merits of it. I just won't be doing it.
Talk about the Atlanta Falcons fantasy faves and fades for 2021. My favorite, Calvin Ridley. I get Julio Jones is no longer in town. However, Calvin Ridley is a guy who, has played well without Calvin Ridley being in the lineup or without Julio Jones being in the lineup. In games that Julio wasn't there, Calvin Ridley still averaged 20+ points a game as a fantasy wide receiver. I don't think it really affects his value at all that Julio is not there anymore. Because now he's got another weapon in Kyle Pitts. that they're going to use a lot, and you're going to have to account for him. Calvin Ridley, to me, is a safe pick.
I can't get to Calvin Ridley. I don't like where he's going. He's my fade because of who he's going in front of. Would you like to hear the three receiver, the receiver taken directly in front of him? Mm-hmm. And by directly in front of him, I mean their ADP is one spot off. DeAndre Hopkins goes one spot in front of him. The three directly behind him are Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and Michael Thomas. I like all three of them better than him, and it's not even close. Mm-hmm. To me, it's not even in the ballpark. Calvin Ridley was on a terrible team last year, and he was targeted a ton. Mm-hmm. He will be again this year. Mm-hmm. He's also going to draw number one coverage. The number one corner is now going to be on you at all times because you're the best receiver on this team, and it's not even close. Now, if you told me they run Kyle Pitts the way I think they're going to, that will help. It doesn't get me to ahead of the three guys I just said. Mm-hmm. Taking him ahead of Justin Jefferson is borderline moronic to me.
I could agree with that.
Taking him ahead of Michael Thomas is you're out of your gourd because they're in the same exact situation. A quarterback that I see the upside. There's also a downside, and you're the only game in town. The two wide receiver in Atlanta is Russell Gage, who, by the way, I do like. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. The ADP on him's stupid. He had 143 targets last year, which was a lot. That's a lot. Do you know how many players in the NFL were targeted more in 2020 than Calvin Ridley?
Who are they?
Two of them were tight ends. So you had Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs. And it was consistent as hell through the year. Mm-hmm. Deontay Johnson, it depends on what site you're looking at. There were a couple of his targets that went to somebody else, depending on if it's where the ball lands or who somebody thinks the ball was thrown at.
Okay.
I don't see him being that high in targets again. I don't think this team's as bad as they were. Mm-hmm. I don't see them getting in plus they're not as bad defensively as they were. I think they've matured a year on defense. I don't think you're going to see them in a lot of 45-42 shootouts. Not saying it's going to be 7-3. I just think the fact that you've got Arthur Smith, who is think about Arthur Smith. Here's the net of this. What does Arthur Smith do? Run the ball, play action, off running the ball. Mm-hmm. I just told you A.J. Brown got 104 targets with Arthur Smith last year. If you're about to tell me Calvin Ridley's better than A.J. Brown, we don't have anything else to talk about.
Well, no, but there's also no Derrick Henry for Atlanta.
No, there's Mike Davis.
Which is, I don't think
he's built like a Terminator.
I don't think he's going to get as much toed as Derrick Henry.
I didn't say he was. What I said was he's built like a fucking Terminator. Mm-hmm. You don't think that's an irony? The running back that Arthur Smith wanted in free agency to go get was the guy that's built like a fucking tank. There's a reason for that. Because he fully plans on running him into the ground. Because he's not the long-term solution. But he needs a guy that's built like that to hold up to what he asks running backs to do. Dan Quinn ran the ball occasionally. Arthur Smith's not going to do that. If you told me right now I had to bet my house, does Calvin Ridley have over or under the number of targets he had last year, I'd bet my house on the under. He was the 7th most targeted wide receiver in the NFL last year. Mm-hmm. And now you're going into an offense that's run by the guy that threw it the 5th least in the NFL last year. Okay, then. That doesn't line up to me.
Okay.
Oh, and you have a rookie tight end that's going to be a matchup nightmare all over the field.
Mm-hmm. And he's my fade. He's my fade for the Atlanta Falcons just based on ADP.
Okay, I need you to explain that because you said this.
In the 5th
I put it on the screen and I just went, okay, whatever.
In the 5th round, I'm not going to be in the market for a rookie. Basically. For a rookie wide receiver / tight end, I'm not going to be interested in it. I will. Sure. And I'm not going to blame you if you are. To me, that's a lot of eggs to put into one basket. I feel like I can get something more proven, I guess, at that spot.
And so you can't play fantasy football that way because you're coming up against people like me that are willing to take the risk, and all I have to do is be right a third of the time, and I'm going to beat you because you're going off a year-old. Oh, I saw him do this last year. Well, it doesn't fucking matter. That's why you're so high on Calvin Ridley and I'm not. Because I'm looking at this year. This is how this is going to happen this year. It's markedly different. It's a different offense. It's a different everything. Let's face it, Dirk Cutter's not in town anymore. Now it's Arthur Smith. And let's be really honest here. Arthur Smith likes tight ends. That's the reason that you knew who Anthony Firkser, is it Anthony Firkser?
Yeah.
Why does that sound wrong?
I don't know.
I don't know. That name, the first name sounds wrong, but it's not. I know it's not because I'm looking at it on the fucking screen. Anthony, the reason you know who he is,
Still looking at it and still thinking
it does. It sounds wrong. I don't know what I think his name should be.
John.
I don't know.
Dylan.
I'll come up with it.
Dylan Firkser.
Robert Firkser.
That sounds like a guy who's going to do your taxes.
I think you're wrong on Pitts. All right, riddle me this.
Yep.
Feel good about Mark Andrews? Feel better about Mark Andrews than you do about Kyle Pitts?
No.
There you
But
go.
Mark Andrews is probably not a guy I'm going to have either.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is being picked 4 spots later than Kyle Pitts. T.J. Hawkinson, you feel better about him?
No. He's the one that I think everybody's overblowing this year.
Rob Gronk, I don't think they're ever blowing him. Maybe a little bit, but not tremendously. Rob Gronkowski.
No.
Hunter Henry.
No.
Logan Thomas.
Yeah, I'd probably wait on him.
So you going to take him in the 8th round? A little ballsy. I'm good. Dallas Goedert.
No.
Evan Ingram.
No.
Mike Gesicki. Johnny Smith. Robert Tonyan. That's probably
that's
the
one
one
I'd be in on.
Yeah, you and everybody else. Tyler Higbee. Irv Smith. Gerald Everett. Jared Cook. Zach Ertz. Congratulations. That's every draftable tight end. You just said no to every one of them. That's kind of my point on Kyle Pitts. Oh, I don't want to take him in the 5th round. You have to understand how the game of fantasy football is moving. Because there are people like me that are going Travis Kelce no matter what, because I realize how much of an advantage he is. Now, here's the thing. You got to be forward thinking. You might be able to get that same advantage out of Kyle Pitts. I'm not saying he's going to beat Travis Kelce. Here's what I am saying. He's going to be used as a wide receiver a lot. He's going to have big games in his rookie year. And I would say probably a good number of them. You may have that playing at tight end. I would take Kyle Pitts in the 5th round, and I would do it with a big old damn smile on my face. Because I think you're getting another wide receiver that's masquerading as a tight end. Which is what I always said about Darren Waller. That's the reason I was all over him. You're getting a guy that is masquerading as something that is a low-value position, and he's really a high-value position. I love Kyle Pitts. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking at the guys taken in front of him right now. This is current ADP last 15 days.
Okay.
I would take him over Raheem Mostert. I would take him over Amari Cooper. I would take him over Lamar Jackson, Myles Gaskin, Adam Thielen, Dak Prescott, Kareem Hunt. Ooh, Allen Robinson. That's where it gets hard for me. I probably would still take him over Allen Robinson. Julio Jones, James Robinson, Mike Evans, DeAndre Swift. Terry McLaurin's close. Miles Sanders, Keenan Allen, then that's the line.
Chances are, though, you have convinced me in the tight end first strategy. First 3 rounds, come out with one of those three tight ends. Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle. But I've already got one. I'm not looking to take one in the 5th round.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is that Kyle Pitts is my parachute. If I don't get one of those 3, this is my parachute where I pull the ripcord in the beginning of the 5th round. All right, so to be in the beginning of the 5th round, I would have had to have been in the beginning of the 1st round. So let's say I get one of those first 4 picks and I can't get out of it. I have to take one of those 4 running backs. So let's say I go, hell for shits and giggles, let's say I go Jonathan Taylor. All right, I take Taylor at 104. Back into the 2nd, I'm going to try to get another running back. Let's say I take Joe Mixon. Try to get a receiver at the beginning of the 3rd. Let's say I luck up and get DeAndre Hopkins. Now, granted, I could have taken Kittle or Waller here. Let's say I get sniped on those guys.
Mm-hmm.
At the backside on 4, I'm going to be thinking about Kyle Pitts. I mean, I'm going to be thinking about him hard. And if he gets to my pick at 5 in the 5th round, parachute. All right, I got the upside of the tight end that I wanted, and I didn't have to use an early pick on it. I'll be honest with you. Oh, yep, not going to do that. I was going to say, I'm not sure that I don't like Kyle Pitts in the 5th round better than I like George Kittle in the 2nd round. Injury history, just all of the potential that Trey Lance winds up at quarterback.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of yips with George Kittle that would potentially scare me. I'm not sure that I don't like Darren Waller better than all of them not named Travis Kelce. Mm-hmm. So tight end is going to be where I get my advantage this year, and I think Kyle Pitts is an advantage.
One thing is for sure, I don't think the Falcons are going to be a good team this year. I think they are for sure going to finish in last place in their division, but there's still pop on that offense.
I mean, 100%. I don't agree with you that they're definitively going to be the worst team in this conference, or in this division, I mean. I'm just not sold that that's definitively. No doubt.
Well, we do have a wager on that. That is one of those that is up on the big board.
Patrick Holt asked me in the comments, what is Kyle Pitts' ADP? Right now it's 63. So he's beginning, as a matter of fact, that'd put him beginning of the 6th round.
Yeah.
Woo! Can't stand up thinking about that. If I get Kyle Pitts in the 6th round, I might just pull my pants down and go, eat shit and walk out.
Wow.
You auto-draft the rest of my team. I don't need anything else.
Hot.
Just walk out like scooting my feet. Because my pants are on the floor.
I think it's another one of those that I have. I've tried to lower my expectations for his rookie year. Again, he's more of a guy that I would target if I'm in a dynasty. Obviously,
I made the argument that Kyle Pitts should be 102 in a dynasty, behind Najee Harris. That's the only guy you should take ahead of him. And I'm still not backing off of that.
I think that's where he's gone in all of the three dynasty drafts I've been in.
I've seen him at 4 in every one that I've seen. I get a lot of the, hey, rate my draft. By the way, if you send those to me, just understand I'm going to tell you the truth. There's at least one person that will probably never do that again because I don't think they understood what was going to get fired back at them.
Now, see, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be doing on the show.
Oh, 100%.
Next time you get one of those, or you should save them all up and we'll just do one rip your fantasy team episode.
Oh, that sounds like something we could do on Friday.
It's a great idea. And, of course, on Friday, we'll be right here in the Wicked Weed studio. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene.
Yeah.
We will not have the ESPN Asheville radio show this afternoon. Braves baseball will be on. We'll be back with you on the radio side tomorrow afternoon at 3. But today at 3 right here in the Sportsocracy, we're going to have the West Virginia Ninjas expansion draft. In honor of the NHL doing their expansion draft tonight, we're doing one for the 33rd team in the NFL on to be featured on NFLDraft.net. Stay tuned for that. We will see you tomorrow morning back here at 10 a.m. as well, as always, here in the Wicked Weed studio. Have a great day.